Hello, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will show you how you can build a local MCP server that is connected to a SQL database and run it using Claude Desktop. So we want to build an order management MCP server for an electronic store where we make use of a CRUD operation for which a customer rep can create an order, fetch order, update and delete an order. The goal of this system is to help the store manager easily access and manage all their customer orders. So to build this system, there are a few things that we need to set up on our machine. So first, you need to have UV installed on your machine. If you don't have it installed, you can watch the video I linked above. I created a step-by-step guide on how you can do that. Also, you need to have SQL Server Express downloaded on your machine. While the third one, you also need the SQL Server Management Studio, although it might not be really compulsory, but it's just for us to be able to view all our tables and databases. So before we go to the coding aspect, if you just came across this channel, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and also turn on your notifications so you don't miss any upcoming videos. Now let's dive right into our code. Before writing our code, we're going to create our order table. So here we're going to define the structure of our table where we define the different fields and data type that we want in this table. So here you can see the customer name, product name, you can see the amount, shipping address. So these are the things that we want to see in our order table. So and I'm going to click on execute to create this. Now that we have our table, let's open our VS Code to write our code for the MCP server. So we're going to use the UV to create a new project. So to do that, we're going to say UV init management. Yes, so I'm going to go into the new folder. So we're going to create a virtual environment inside this folder. So by doing UV VMV, and we are going to activate it. So we have some dependencies that we need to install. So I'm going to paste it. So we have the PLDBC and some other dependencies here. So let's install it. Now that we have everything installed, we can go to our code and write it. So we need to import the libraries that we want to use. Now we can write the name for our server by initializing it. I'm going to call this order management. And we're going to create the connection to our database. So I'm going to change this to connect to DB. So we're using the PowerDBC connector to connect to the SQL database. And you can see the name of the driver, which is I'm using the ODBC driver 17. And I'm also using a local host connection to the database, so which is where you can see the server name. And under the database, you can see the name of the database that I want to connect to. So then I'm returning the connector. So now we can create our MCP tool. So the first one we're going to create is the create orders. So I'm going to specify the customer name, the product's name, quantity, and the total amount, and the shipping address. So here I'm going to add some typing. So this is going to be a string, right? This is going to be an integer. So we're going to call our function, which is the connect to database. Then let's call these cursor connection.cursor. So here we're going to define our insert query based on the fields that we specified. So this is my insert query based on the field that is specified. And I'm going to do cursor.execute. Then I'm going to commit. So after then, I'm going to return a message. So now we specify how we want to create our order. So what is missing inside this function is we've not actually converted it to an MCP tool. So to do that, we're going to do, let's make this an asynchronous. Then I'm going to put a decorator by saying mcp.tool. And after I've done that, I'm also going to add a doc string. So this particular tool, we're going to specify like this tool is used for creating orders. So I will say use this tool to create a new order. So and I'm going to specify each of the parameters that I'm using there. So these are the parameters that I specified. Then I'm also going to add a return inside this doc string. So I also specify the return to help the large language model understand what the output is expected to be like. So now we've created our MCP tool for the create order. So I think what is left here, I need to add a type int here as well. So now let's create the second MCP tool, which is for fetching order or reading order from the database. So let's write our query, which is the select statement. So now we're going to do cursor.execute. So also we'll do orders is equal to, so whereby we fetch all the entire information from the database. And I'm going to use this to pass the column name and each of the values for each rows. So and then I return the order. So here we're also going to put the asynchronous here and the decorator. So we also need to define the doc string, which is a description for this tool. So let's use this as this will be lists. So this could actually be anything. So now let's create the third MCP tool, which is for updates. So let's call this mcp.tool. So let me just copy this to make this faster. So let's change this to update orders. So okay, and I'm going to specify a parameter here as well. So I've specified the parameter and the return, which actually helps the Claude large language model whenever it's communicating with this tool. It understands the parameter that is expecting from that tool and what the return is meant to be. So let's go further. So where we define our query. So we need to define the parameters here. So we have the customer name. So here I want us to be able to update any of our order dynamically. So let's say you want to update probably the customer name, quantity, or any fields that they want to update. So we're going to pass the order ID. So we're going to pass this as int. So now we're going to pass this fields through a dictionary. So I define everything here whereby I can have the field name and the value under the fields. And just like I mentioned, like I want this to be very dynamic. So let's say the user didn't pass anything for the quantity, or let's say the product name. So we want to filter out anything that is none from this list. So we're going to do, and we're also going to define the set clause, so which is what we want to use to update the field. So based on the information that we have under this update field. And we're also going to take out the values and append the order ID to the list of the values. So now this is the query we're going to use to update our order. So where we pass in the set clause. So and we're going to do the connect cursor connect.cursor. Then we can do cursor.execute by passing the query and the values. So after then we're going to return a message. Okay, so we say order has been updated. So here we're going to change this to dict, which is our type int. And we're also going to create the last MCP tool, which is the delete MCP tool. So let's do just like we did for orders. So I think we should just copy the one for fetch orders, so and modify it. So let's call this delete order. So use this to delete an existing customer order from the database. So let's take this query out. So this is our cursor that executes when we pass in the query and the value. And I'm going to do connection.commit. Then I'm going to return a message here as well. Okay, so I'm going to change this type int to dict. Yeah, so we've been able to create all our MCP tools, so which is basically everything that we need to create this order management MCP server. So now I'm going to define the transport method, which is to specify that we are running this on local. So which is where we're going to define it here. So I'm going to change this to mcp.run. Then I specify the transports as standard inputs and outputs. So basically we're ready to test this server with Claude Desktop. So we're going to go to our terminal. So what we're going to do here is we need to, let me see, are we on the order management? Yes, so we need to do cd order management again. Then we also need to activate our virtual environment. Okay, there should be scripts. So to run this with Claude, we're going to do uv run mcp install. Then you specify the name of the Python file. So the name of our Python file is main.py. So we're going to press enter. So this tells us like our order management server has been successfully installed on the Claude app. So which is, we are going to find it inside our Claude config. So now I'm going to open the Claude Desktop to see what is going on here. So we can pass in prompt and test. Yeah, so it's possible that we have this error. So let's go to the developer settings and see what's going on. So let's look at the okay, first and foremost, let's look at the config file. So let me open this with VS Code. Yeah, so this actually tells us like this is where all our server is going to be. So you can see the name of the server, which is the order management, and this is the command, which is the UV. So this is the part where the UV is located on my computer. So we're using the command to run this particular server, and you can see the location for this particular file, so which is the order management file that we're currently running, which is this main.py. So this is everything that we have under the Claude Desktop config file. So I'm going to close this and attend to that error. So let me close this as well. So we're going to open the logs folder to understand what's going on. So let's open it with VS Code. So we have this error which is telling us like no module PyHoDBC connector. So this is to tell us like it can't find this particular module on our machine. So we actually need to find a way to fix this. So, and how we can do that is, so you're going to copy this part up to this point. Yeah, because you basically need this part. So let's copy this and paste it on our notepad. Okay, now that we have it on our notepad, we're going to do before it, we're going to do uv pip install PyHoDBC. This is just to fix this error. So I'm going to do --python. So after then, at the end, you're going to put another slash by saying scripts, then another slash, do python.exe. So I'm going to copy this. So with this, hopefully we can fix that error. So, but before then, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our, our Claude Desktop. We're going to delete this particular server. So we're going to reinstall it. So let's close it. We need to close the entire application. Come down to this tray and also close that. Yeah, so we're going to paste this. So which is that command. Yeah, so it has installed it. So we're going to do uv run mcp install again. Yeah, so we've installed the order management server again. So we're going to open our Claude. It's opening up. So let's go to the developer page, file, go to the settings, then you click on developer. Then you can see like the order management server is running now. So now we can send in our prompt, so whereby we can gain access to each of the tools that we defined on our server. So now let's create a new chart. So I'm going to create an order. So I will say create an order for, let's say, John Doe, who purchased 3, let's say, well, since this is an electronic store, so 3 wireless keyboards, so for a total of $150. So, and I'm going to say set the status to processing. So, and I'm going to say ship to and use today's date. Okay, so let's see how this large language model is going to perform. Okay, so let me click on allow. So it's telling me like it has actually created this order for me. Okay, and I'm going to confirm this on my SQL, which is the SSMS. So let's run it and see. Yeah, you can see it actually created this particular order for us, so which is what we can see in our table. So we're going to create more order. Let's create something like probably 3 different order. So I'm going to say a new customer named Sarah placed an order for 1 Samsung and the total amount is $799 and the status is shipped and the order was placed on July 15th, 2025. So let's run this. So this is for the new order. Now it was able to pass in all the information correctly and created it. So I'm going to pass in another prompt again. So let's run this again. So now we have all the entire order. So we've created 3 different orders. So now I'm going to tell it to list all my orders now. Yeah, so it's going to list all the entire order that we have inside our table. So we have John Doe, Sarah Lee, and Thomas Green, which is everything that we just created now. So and the last and the third one which we want to do, let's update any of these orders. So I'm going to say update, let's say update Sarah's order. So change the status to okay, let's say we have shipped here, so let's say change the status to delivered. So let's see what's going to happen. So you can see what this large language model did. So it was able to retrieve the order ID because we're actually updating by order ID. So it retrieved the order ID for Sarah and passing the status. So and the order was updated. So based on how I created the update MCP tool to be very dynamic, whereby you can add as multiple fields inside there. So let's say you want to add just 1 field or you want to add probably 2 fields or so. So let's update one more item. So let's say change Thomas product to change the total amount. Let's say shipped. Okay. So I passed in the wrong thing earlier. So it's telling us like he wasn't able to update the total amount to 1,000. So let me look at our update code. So if you look at what we can see here, oh, the parameters that we specified were just the product, quantity, and status. So assuming we have amounts among this list, we shouldn't have any problem. So but we can still change the product name. So I'm going to say change so let's say change Thomas products name. Let's change it to microphones, and status to, let's change it to something else. I just want to see how it works. Yeah, so you can see it picked up the product name, and it also picked up the status, so where it's updated the status for us. Yeah, so and also if we want to delete an order, we can also pass the name, particular customer order that we want to delete. So I can say, can you delete Thomas order? So it was able to get the order ID for Thomas, and it's going to delete it. So, and if I'm going to check the table, which is from the database side, so I expect 2 rows because we only pass in 3 records to this particular table. So if I run this, I expect to see 2 rows. So yeah, so which is everything we can see under this table. So this is how you can build your local MCP server that is connected to a SQL database for a CRUD application. So if you have any question, please drop them below. Also, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you can see related videos like this. Thanks for watching. I would love to see you next time.